His matchup here, I believe to be tough, but he does have some tools that Eli Cassis, who Jeremiah defeated in the quarterfinals, does not have access to. Wasteland and Tarmogoyf.
All right. Jeremiah on the play leads off on Cloud Post, the marquee card for his deck. James responds with a Bayou. And remember, we are in sideboarded games right now. Jeremiah's hand looks to be pretty good. He has some maps, some cantrips, a little bit of disruption in Pithing Needle. As you see right here, Cloud Post into Sensei's Divining Top.
And I love that play from Jeremiah last turn. You see he has Expedition Map in his hand, elects not to cast it, knows that James has Abrupt Decays in his deck and is unwilling to allow him to cash it in for much value.
Yeah, and here's a card that you were really excited about to see in James's deck. He said may help him in the matchup. He has a turn 2 Tarmogoyf. Right now, Goyf is actually a 0-1, but just the fact that he has aggressively costed 2-drops, you said, could be very important in the matchup.
If you go back and watch the quarterfinals, Eli Cassis was just messing around with Baleful Strixes and Chartless Agents and Scavenging Ooze type of threats for too long. Jeremiah was kind of against the ropes in some of those games, but Eli just couldn't produce enough damage. Tarmogoyf gives James the opportunity to really leverage what his Force of Wills and Thought Seizes are able to do, keeping Jeremiah off just long enough to win the game.
Yeah, well, you saw with Jeremiah, his cards like Moment's Peace carried him through those games against Eli. But the thing is that before Jeremiah had to start casting Moment's Peace, he was able to take like 2 or 3 attacks because the attacks just weren't really big enough to warrant Moment's Piecing. Yeah. And the idea, at least from James, is that perhaps that won't happen here. Maybe he can force Jeremiah to burn those Moment's Pieces on, turn 4, turn 5, as opposed to turn 6 and 7.
Yeah, just anything to generate a little bit more pressure.
All right, so we're back. A third land was made for Jeremiah. He made a Expedition Map and left up mana to activate it. We'll see how much more threat James can get on the board. He's going to crack a fetch land. That starts the Tarmogoyf die rolling. It rolls its way up to a 1-2 and see if it can get any bigger. And he'll go for Shardless Agent.
And James 1 game away from really making this one of the highest profile Legacy Open finals in recent memory. James Rynkiewicz, a former Legacy Grand Prix champion, and Craig Crumple's former Gravy Train pro and some high Pro Tour finishes himself.
And we see there, he cascades through a Force of Will into a Deathrite Shaman. And you're right, just the presence of Tarmogoyf here adds so much pressure to this board. He's going to go ahead and swing for 1 with Goyf. Not too much now, but, as Jeremiah does things like crack his Expedition Map.
Yeah, he's looking, putting an Expedition Map into the graveyard. That's another card. I mean, any instant or sorcery, of course, is going to add to the count. So the Goyf is going to get large pretty fast here.
And we'll see at what point does once Jeremiah starts cracking things like Expedition Map and casting cantrips, he's committing to also casting Moment's Peace. Say he Expedition Maps and Brainstorms. Now Goyf's big. Now James is threatening 6, 7 damage a turn.
The game becomes much more of a race, and Jeremiah's resources get a lot more taxed. It also magnifies the significance of James's Wastelands as well, if he's able to find one of those.
Yeah, not to mention, James you're right, does have access to some Wastelands. As you said before, still the best card against any Cloud Post strategy.
So Jeremiah's Brainstorm, again, he has a shuffle available to him with Misty Rainforest, so he can put back some of the garbage here, spin his top again.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and he elects to do that over cracking Expedition Map. This is what I believe is he's trying to get one more turn where he can just take damage as opposed to fogging. So he's trying to keep that Tarmogoyf small, trying to keep things in check. Does cast Brainstorm, so you're gonna Brainstorms put some duds back, cracks a fetch land. So Goyf's scoring some here, but not maximum.
And I believe Jeremiah also has Show and Tell in his hand, so part of the reason he may be doing this instead of cracking the map is the more cards that he looks at, the more opportunities he has to possibly find Primeval Titan or even his copy of Emrakul and just win the game outright.
Right, Show and Tell in either of those cards into play is a huge threat, which lets him win the game on the next turn, typically. As I said before, in this deck, Primeval Titan finds like somewhere, upwards of 6 mana worth of lands when you cast him. He's not playing fair at all. We'll see where he decides to go here. This is still on end step, so he cast Brainstorm, cracked a fetch land, and now is spinning top. We'll see what he finds on top. in his hand, Candelabra, and as you mentioned, Show and Tell.
So Candelabra plus a Cloud Post plus the Expedition map means that mana is unlikely to be a bottleneck for Jeremiah this game.
The bottleneck seems to be what he can find. He's going to go ahead and play Glimmer Post this turn. That gains him 2 life, back up to 20. He's going to go ahead and tap Divining Top to draw a card, and he knew the card on top was Primeval Titan, and he's going to go ahead and Show and Tell it into play, electing to shuffle away that Divining Top.
See how he wants to tap momentarily here.
Yeah, I imagine it's just land plus Cloud Post.
Yeah.
Yep, all right, he knows the card he's bringing to Show and Tell. James does too.
And that's a great play there from Jeremiah because, you know, the upside here is that if that Show and Tell resolves, the game's probably over, and it necessitates a Force of Will without losing the Primeval Titan. So he gets a shot at it next turn.
Yeah, James had to go Force, pitching Shardless Agent just to stop the Force of Will, but as you said, to stop the Show and Tell, but as you said, yeah, he gets to go for it again next turn. And Jeremiah casts Candelabra of Taunos as well. What Candelabra actually means here too is that there's a possibility that Jeremiah can win. There's a possibility, probably a low one, but a possibility that he can win on the same turn he casts the Primeval Titan. If he has any mana he can float on top, which he will, he can then use the Candelabra to untap a large set of Cloud Posts and make a lot more colorless mana on the very turn that he casts the Primeval Titan.
Yep. I suspect he's going to be short because going to Emrakul from that spot requires so much mana.
Right.
But it is a testament to how explosive that deck can be once it's set up that we're even having the conversation in the first place.
So thanks to that exchange, James's Tarmogoyf has started to get of a pretty relevant size. It's now at 3-4. Instant Sorcery and Land have joined the yard, and James is going to add artifacts to that equation with Abrupt Decay. Goyf goes up to 4-5, and there's a pretty large swing waiting here. James has at least 6 from the creatures, and looks like 2 more from Deathrite Shaman. This is an 8-point turn from James.
And Jeremiah already committed ahead of time to not using Moment's Peace. He just wants to sacrifice this Expedition map and sort of get a move on to close out this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lands worked out. Well, he wanted to get the Candlestick onto the boards, and he wasn't able to leave up green that way. But I mean, this is still an attack he can take, right?
Yeah.
So, remember, the Moment's Peace is only going to be half a Moment's Peace because of Deathrite Shaman. He's not going to get the 2 activations off it. It's really just a fog. Unless he can Needle the Shaman or something like that. And Jeremiah opts, once again, not to sack the Expedition map. And because of that, James is going to go ahead and Abrupt Decay the map on Jeremiah's upkeep.
And this is a great play here from James. It forces Jeremiah's hand right now. And committing 2 mana is a big cost.
Now let's walk back here. Jeremiah did not crack map at the end of the turn. And I'm wondering what the reasons, and there's busy he loses the map as a result. And this turn he's going to go ahead and play a fetch land, crack it, and it's Primeval Titan.
So that Misty Rainforest is going to find... We got to find something with the Misty first.
Right.
He has to resolve the fetch land trigger for those who spotting the match.
So it looks like he has an island and another trop to go get, so...
Yeah, as long as he needs to show that he has a legal target for Misty Rainforest, which in his deck I don't think he has any shortage of. But yeah, Titan's going to go ahead and get Glacial Chasm, and Forest. And Chasm's going to require him to stack a land.
We should remember here
So-
that Jeremiah broke the rules on this one last time.
So we'll see. There you go.
Yep, Forest is the sacrifice made to Glacial Chasm. And so now Jeremiah, no longer taking damage, can still take Deathrite shocks, but that's about it. One question is, looking at Rynkiewicz's deck, what is his ability to actually get that Primeval Titan off the board?
Let's go to the tape here. Liliana the Veil, if he brought that in, which is not very good otherwise. Jason the Mind Sculptor, which is temporary, to say the least. But that's about it.
All right, so not too much. Yeah, no copy of Maelstrom Pulse here. We do see that for the turn, Rynkiewicz made another Shardless Agent cascaded into Thoughtseize. Looks like he's going to get a Moment's Peace with it. But because he tapped out for Moment's Peace, he tapped in such a way that actually Jeremiah may get a chance to cast this Moment's Peace. And on this turn, he's immediately going to let Glacial Chasm hit the yard. Was only interested in the 1 turn worth of fog. And he's going to draw. That's a brainstorm. He sees repeal, Candelabra of Taunos.
Oh, and Candelabra is a game changer here, potentially.
I was going to say, well, this is the best part. Candelabra with those repeals is tons of mana.
Oh, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, so, okay.
Oodaleel.
Let's doing some math here.
This is
okay,
exciting
if he
stuff.
gets, so let's say he gets a Cloud Post Ayavugan,
Right.
which is probably what he has to get off the Titan. So now he has the access to 8, 9, 10 mana untapped post combat. So he can play this Candelabra, and he'll play it for 1. He'll have 9 left. Now every time he taps Candelabra, Candelabra will untap 12 mana worth of artifacts for only 3. So Candelabra will add 9 to his mana pool, and every time he repeals it, he only costs him 3 to repeal the Candelabra. Now, Candelabra might have to get more blue sources for him, so it may not be as good as a +6, but at the very least, it's going to be a +4 at getting blue to draw a card. So you can think about like each of those repeals as +4 mana draw a card, which means the amount of mana he actually has available to him right now is a +6, 4, and 4. He has 14 mana available at the very least, not to mention what he draws off those card draws.
That's why I like having you in the booth here. You're like a Magic player and a mathematician, so it's very helpful.
An intersection.
Like a mathemagician.
Oh man, that's a term I've never heard thrown around. Oh no, yeah. So I'm not positive he has. Well, he has to use some mana, some Candelabra mana to untap the Ayavugan as well if he wants to find Emrakul and cast it. Remember, 20 is the magic number. If he can get Ayavugan +20, he can play and cast Emrakul this turn. We'll see right now a swing with Primeval Titan. So we saw that getting Ayavugan and Cloud Post, exactly what we thought he'd be getting. And James throws the team in front. It's going to trade with, just sadly, with a Tarmogoyf.
Well, is there some way for him to... He doesn't have enough mana to repeal his Titan Candelabra and recast it, right? That's not in the cards here?
Well, no, right now he only has access to 10 mana on the battlefield. So if he repeals the Titan, he only has 3 left, so his Candelabras aren't at full value.
Yeah,
he doesn't have green. There's a lot of issues going on to
he has
that
to
play.
start untapping Tropicals instead of Cloud Post, so
Yeah.
it's just not an option.
And even now, he'll still have to untap Tropical at least once for that second repeal. But what I think is going to be is that his first Candelabra is a +6. His second one is a +6. His third one is a +4. So the thing about that is 16 plus the mana he has in play. He should have enough here to go get Emrakul and cast Emrakul this turn. Cloud Post is really cool that way. We'll see. Yeah, Titan trades with something. It doesn't matter. Trades with Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, one would assume.
And now we get to see fun things happen here. All right, so he makes it. We'll walk through this. He makes 8 mana. He's going to go ahead and untap 5 lands with it, so he has 3 colorless floating.
And there's the repeal you mentioned.
Yep. So the repeal, he has 1 color. He has 1 colorless floating after recasting the Candelabra. Makes 12, and this is where he adds 9. He makes 12, untaps 3, so that's a +9. He has 10 colorless floating.
Oh, yeah, he's got Emrakul rolled up here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 colors floating. He's going to go ahead and use 7 of that to go find Emrakul. Yep, finds Emrakul. It's going to go through it one more time. He'd have 3 floating, can repeal the Candelabra again, recast, and have enough to cast Emrakul.
So what's really fun about this deck, even from a pretty low base, whenever the deck has Primeval Titan, it's, counting. Yep, next turn he's going infinite with Emrakul again.
Yeah, so a little bit of history here. If those of you who followed Modern when it was first in its inception at Pro Tour Philadelphia, this is before like Modern had a larger ban list. There was a deck, it was 8 post at the time, and it was playing Green Sun Zenith, Primeval Titan, Cloud Post, Glimmer Post. Actually, I don't know if we had, Cloud Post, Glimmer Post, and Vesuva. Yeah, so it was 12 post. It was not 8 post. It was 12 post. So, and at the time, that deck, we saw Jesse Hampton top-aided the Pro Tour with it. It was powerful enough that it actually shoved all the control decks out of the format. So you're wondering, like, why was there, like, the first Pro Tour in Modern was almost all combo decks, and then this post deck. And the reason is, there was no blue deck that could go late with post. Its plays were just too powerful, and it really bullied like the deck was powerful enough that any deck that couldn't win on turn 3 or 4 got bullied out of the format by this post deck. So as a result, the entire Pro Tour was post and like turn 3 combo decks and Affinity, and that was your whole meta game.
And Affinity is essentially a turn 3 combo.
Yeah,
deck
Affinity's
as well.
not that different than a turn 3 combo deck.
Yeah.
Zoo, I suppose you could put in there too. Zoo also is like a deck with a pretty fast clock though. And so like that deck was powerful enough in Modern that it merited the banning of Cloud Post in Modern. So go back to Legacy. Obviously, you know, a Modern powerhouse, not necessarily like going to dominate Legacy, but this is a deck that's very hard to control by any sort of conventional strategy.
And the addition of Brainstorm is just huge. You
Yeah,
know, that's something you
Brainstorm.
don't have access to in Modern, and adds another dimension of consistency. Show and Tell is also just gives this
Yeah.
deck like the ability to win without much of a setup, which is again something a Modern analog doesn't really have.
To put things in perspective, the Modern deck played through the Breach, which is like a one-shot sneak attack at 5 mana, not 3. You don't get to keep the guy, and yeah, that was like a 4. That was a 4 of in the deck as well.
Yeah.
Like a significantly worse card.
And it was still plenty good.
Yeah, good enough that the deck had to get banned out of the format.
Yep.
So yeah, plenty good.
So looking at the sideboard, we've seen Jeremiah. He's playing very close to the same matchup. We saw him in the top 8. He brought in his copies of Ensnaring Bridge and also his 2 copies of Karn Liberator. You know, his mana is going to be basically untouched in this matchup. There's a couple wastelands, but he's going to be able to assemble shop. The bottleneck is going to be over Thoughtseizes and Force of Wills, being able to take away his scant few ways to actually go about winning the game. And so Karn is a pretty good backup plan in that world. Just a fast threat that is good enough to win the game on his own. Doesn't actually have to go infinite with Emrakul turns or Primeval Titan or any of that.
Yeah, so we'll be on, going to game 3 here between the 2 decks. We do see, now, I want to comment on this again. Rynkiewicz, like Ely Cassis, also playing Null Rod in his sideboard. And once again, a great card in the matchup. This is the first time I've been seeing Null Rod showing up consistently in Shardless Bug sideboards.
I believe that, you know, James and Ely kind of roll in the same Jupiter Games crowd. They play a lot of Legacy, so I would imagine that, you know, the Null Rod is versatile enough and powerful enough against certain decks and unexpected enough where the total sum is a very good use of a sideboard slot or 2.
Yeah, we never got to see Ely draw one of his Null Rods. We've seen the postboard games. James hasn't drawn it either. But I just have to assume the card's a powerhouse against this Cloud Post deck.
Yeah, it's Expedition Map and Sensei's Dividing Top are 2 really important components to this list, and Null Rod shuts that down. Jeremiah can break out of it with Repeal, so it's no guarantee to win the game, but it is a good start. And
Yeah.
because James is so light on relevant disruption, anything that has huge upside, like Null Rod does, is a big add to the deck.
Well, especially when, you know, James is on the play, Null Rod comes down so quickly. It comes down on turn 2, shuts off all the cogs in Jeremiah's deck, you know. Not to mention the fact that it also shuts off Candelabra in addition to the other 2 1-mana artifacts.
Yep. I bet he wishes he had a second copy
Yeah, well,
at this point.
I mean, he would take probably as many copies as he could get.
Yep.
But I'm not sure how many other matchups in the meta you actually actively want Null Rod.
Take good work
It's-
against Death and Taxes.
Yeah, Death and Taxes. That's one I would take it against Death and Taxes.
You do, you know, in a 400-person Legacy tournament, I would guess, you know, somewhere between 5 and 10 people are playing some sort of Affinity deck.
I mean, if you ever hit Affinity and you have a Null Rod, good job. Like,
Yep.
that's excellent. It's every bit the Stony Silence. All right, and James on the play is going to start off fast with a turn 1 Thoughtseize, and he'll see what he's up against. This is a hand. It is Pithing Needle, Primeval Titan, 4 lands, and I believe actually 5 lands. I believe that last one is Eye of Ugin.
It's a soft hand, and no, not even any of the 2-mana cards. The Cloud Post, rather. No way to get them, so.
Jeremiah kept his hand like with a certain level of confidence, and I don't know, like 5 lands Pithing Needle Titan to me wouldn't seem to be a great hand, but you know, Jeremiah completely happy to be playing it.
It feels at least worth some contemplation.
And Jeremiah actually doing something that a lot, like I do frequently in play testing. I've never actually done this in a tournament. You know, to save your opponent the trouble of writing down your hand, you play your hand face up and then play your new cards face down. Rather courteous though. You see, he's just gonna go ahead and make some land drops, but no threats yet from James.
And taking the Pithing Needle there, I'm curious to see what he's setting up. I mean, there's some culprits here. Liliana the Veil, Jason the Mind Sculptor, even Wasteland Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, Liliana would be my guess here. Liliana seems excellent against a Cloud Post strategy, and that is exactly what he set up for.
Especially a Cloud Post strategy that looks like it's just trying to make land drops. I mean, you know, there's nothing unfair going on right now.
Yeah, well, Jeremiah's going to have to hit some, like, he'd want to hit some Cloud Posts, maybe a way to deal with this Liliana. He does get to repeal her, so he's not going to have to worry about her going ultimate, but she's just going to get a lot of cards out of his hand.
I think Show and Tell may be the place where Jeremiah needs to go next here.
Yeah, he still has that Primeval Titan. The plus on Liliana, now it's a Vesuva. More lands from James getting discarded, and now he finally has a threat in the form of Tarmogoyf.
This is a great opening here for James, and he's able to keep up a mana for Flusterstorm, which is important because he knows that Jeremiah's path to get out of this involves Show and Tell.
Right. Show and Tell would have to be on 5 mana to successfully play around there.
It's not even totally clear that that gets the job done either because, you know, can James survive Jeremiah searching for 2 lands when there's no Cloud Post in play to begin with? Probably. There's only so much damage Jeremiah can really do from that base.
And not to mention, if this Liliana gets to -6, I don't see Jeremiah coming back from that one. Liliana pluses for the 3rd time. And we'll see what the discards are. It is the Eye of Ugin for Jeremiah, and yet another fetch land for James. And he really, in this handicap, he was a believer in Liliana. The hand was, you know, Liliana and lands and Thoughtseize.
Yeah. Well, Thoughtseize plus Liliana is a good path, you know.
Right.
You take some way to search for lands. As long as you can keep Jeremiah's mana explosion pinned down to some extent, Liliana can do a lot of good work. It's the Cloud Post draws where Liliana is just not going to be enough to contain Jeremiah's total sum of resources.
Yeah, but Jeremiah just making basics into basics, great for James. And we also did have a Flusterstorm backup when he kept the hand. And, you know, I don't think this repeal, I think James is going to Flusterstorm it.
Yeah.
And he does.
Because he doesn't really have to worry about even Show and Tell coming off the top because he can allow Jeremiah to find 2 lands and then kill the Primeval Titan with a Liliana activation, he can afford to fight over this repeal.
Yeah, and of the lands that Jeremiah is going to find, none of them are Eye of Ugin. And James knows that because Jeremiah discarded the Eye of Ugin to Liliana. And he has Kozilek right now. That was his draw.
Nice.
Yeah, and his hand was missing some pieces, and it looks like this is going to be the end of the road for Jeremiah.
Yeah. An ambitious keep, and now this is happening.
Yeah, all 4 drops. And Jeremiah's going to get, well, right now it's not too bad. He's going to get double Stone Rained by the Liliana if James wants to lose it. But because he's under so little pressure, James might just take the Liliana up to 7 and then ult it next turn even.
I think Stone Rain twice cuts off so many angles of attack.
Yep, he's going to ult the Liliana and Jeremiah's floating, okay, he's floating all his mana in response to the activation. And it's going to be two drops they're going to leave here. Yeah, James makes the straightforward split of Trop and Trop Island. So Jeremiah, you know, will keep the 3rd land. See him binning both tropical islands there.
Goyf's going to go up because there's now a Planeswalker in the graveyard. And Tarmogoyf playing a critical role in this matchup, as did the Liliana the Veil, 2 cards that Ely did not have access to in his version of Bug Control.
Yeah, and now Jeremiah finally hits a Divining Top, but he is under so much pressure. Tarmogoyf has grown all the way to a 5/6. There is still a chance if Jeremiah can find now a Show and Tell and a Primeval Titan, that should be enough because James doesn't have a Liliana anymore.
Yeah, and we know he has the Show and Tell, so it's just
Primeval Titan.
Yeah. So as desperate as this looks, there's still some hope here for Jeremiah.
Yeah, if he's kept a fetch land, then he can reset this top. You know, I mean, I have to assume that the Titan's not in here. Can't imagine he'd be tanking this long if there was one. Wait, if he has the Show and Tell, couldn't he just Show and Tell Kozilek? I guess that doesn't do anything.
So digging for Show and Tell right now, Primeval Titan and Kozilek in hand.
Okay, he has the Titan. And that's a swing. It puts Jeremiah down to 6. It's a 5/6. Tarmogoyf Jeremiah gets 2 more turns. His draw there, Glimmer Post, I believe. Doesn't really buy him a turn. Gets him a land, if that is what he has. Yep, goes to 7.
And he gets another, I mean, he's a card deeper with his Divining Top too.
And we'll see whether or not he wants to spin now, and I think so. If that 3rd card down is a Show and Tell, he can Show and Tell one of these monsters into play. And immediately he puts that card in the bottom all the way to the top. I'm not sure what it is. I wanted to say it was Emrakul. That wouldn't make much sense to put that one on top,
No.
though. And will be kept in suspense as well. Can Rynkiewicz win the game this turn? I do not believe so. He has Shardless Agent. That can help. If this cascades into, say, Deathrite Shaman, he can get him down to 2. And then even if then Jeremiah is dead to rights here.
Well, he can still go play Primeval Titan and gain
Get
a bunch of life by getting
Glimmer
Post
Posts.
first.
Yeah, but a great cascade for Shardless Agent. That's going to cascade into Ancestral Vision. So a free 3 cards. Not too shabby. We'll draw James certainly into some action. And with that on the stack, Jeremiah is going to go for something else. He's going to go ahead and spin top. In response, he's going to draw the top. So he's going to switch the cards, then bury the top. And he's going to crop rotate the top away. So he still has the top spin on the stack.
Yeah, and this is a shuffle. I mean, he's, again, just digging for show and tell.
Right. So draws the card. And then this is the best way to dig here. And, you know, he's spot on in what he could be doing here.
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah, because he knew he had to get the crop rotation off the top of the deck with the Divining Top.
Jeremiah has really impressed me with his knowledge of all the intricacies and various do A and response do B type shenanigans with this deck.
Yeah, especially Sensei's Divining Top. I say he spins tops with the best of them. And I don't think he found it.
I mean, he's looking down. He knows. I mean, there's no unless he has a way to shuffle or show and tell.
This is it. He you know, he shuffled his top away, so there's no more manipulating going on.
I guess he could have a land and just cast the Primeval Titan.
Yep, 3 cards from James may have taken away some of these outs. He drew Abrupt Decay, Liliana, but that Liliana, a big draw. As now, even a creature in play does not stabilize Jeremiah. Yeah, I don't actually know if he has a draw here that gets him out. You know, he has his Kozilek, he has a Primeval Titan.
Well, if he draws a land, casts Primeval Titan, goes and gets 2 copies of
Glimmer Post.
Glimmer Post, then he gains
8.
8. So he survives.
Yep.
Next turn.
And he has 4 plus, he has 9 mana sources. So I guess if then he top decks a land on the following turn, he can cast Kozilek.
Or another Primeval Titan allows him to get 2 more. You know, he can start churning over a little bit. So
it does require some running top decks on his part.
he needs help. But even a land at this point feels live.
That actually is true. So we're going to go ahead and see a double fetch from James. And I believe his hand was just Liliana and Abrupt Decays, but I'm not positive here. It's possible. I don't know if has he played. Yeah, he did play a land for the turn. He played a fetch, I believe. Yeah, Abrupt Decay, Liliana. Might even be a third Abrupt Decay.
Yeah, not a great hand here.
And we'll go for swings. This swing is for 5. It's going to knock Jeremiah down to 2.
Oh, is he
It's
putting
going to knock
together
him
the
down
kill?
to, is that 2 more? That's 6, 7, and puts him down to 1.
Puts him to 1. And this is a great play by James because it means that a fetch land no longer allows him to cast Primeval Titan. So
Right.
really heads up play there by James.
Let's see, he got a Glimmer Post
Uh-oh.
that gains him 4, and that gets him up to Primeval Titan mana. Primeval Titan is the play for, oh wow, this could be it. All right.
We got to rally.
All right, up to 4. So the question is if he has to get Glimmer Post, or if he can afford to get Cloud Post. He actually doesn't even need to. He can just get 2 Glimmer Posts if he wants, and that would be enough. But he's gonna have to get at least 1.
Yeah, it's too risky here to not get one of them. Because he just dies to a removal spell on his Primeval
But he
Titan.
gets a Cloud Post, Glimmer Post, or Cloud Post Glacial Chasm.
Oh.
Even better.
Yeah, this is great because he gets to fog through this one turn.
So he gets to, as we know, his Primeval Titan is still going away. And James is going to go ahead and brainstorm here. We see Ancestral Vision, is that Hymn to Turok?
Yes.
And there's only one, James doesn't have enough cards to hang on to this, does he? I don't believe. Interesting spot, okay. Does James have enough mana to him and the Liliana?
No, he's short.
So he's going to have to pick which one he wants. Liliana takes care of the Primeval Titan, but as we know, him takes care of the Kozilek waiting in Jeremiah's hand.
It's hard. It's really hard to imagine pulling the trigger here on Hemming. I mean, it looks like that's where James is going to go, but
Yeah, you'd rather take the poison you know about, get rid of the Titan you know about than the Kozilek you don't.
now remember, many moons ago, Jeremiah lost the Ayabugan to a Liliana Plus, so that threat's no longer on the table. So maybe James is happy to play kind of an honest game here.
And him?
And him.
Now, if he hymns, hold on, if he hymns, then an Eldrazi is going to be discarded. So then the Ayavugan is back on the table.
Yeah. So yeah, he has to Liliana this turn.
Yep, Liliana Edict takes care of Primeval Titan. And Ancestral Vision suspended for James. And Jeremiah may pay 2 life. Yeah, he's going to pay for it. James didn't play a Deathrite Shaman, so that's fine. He's going to get another turn of Fogs. And boom, Kozilek made right there. That is 10 mana, 10 colorless mana. He's going to draw 4. He hits Primeval Titan, repeal into land. Huge draw for Jeremiah.
He is. It looks like he's digging himself out of this.
Wow, what a comeback this would be.
This is incredible. I mean, we thought he was dead to rights. And look at the handicap. I mean, it was 5 lands, Pithing Needle, Primeval Titan. And now we've gotten all the way to this. This is unbelievable.
I would say Jeremiah's the favorite at this point. That Primeval Titan, well, okay, sorry, pause. He can't cast a Primeval Titan yet. He doesn't have double green.
Correct.
He sacked that second green to his Glacial Chasm.
It looks like James here has a backup Liliana the Veil.
So he can use Liliana. He's going to hymn James after abrupt. He's going to plus the Liliana and him to Turok Jeremiah. That's going to be most of his cards. Jeremiah has a 3-card hand. And he does have a backup Liliana, a third Liliana. Yep, he does have 3 in the list after board. So that means he will get all of Jeremiah's cards. Or gets his Eldrazi, one of the two.
I would have to suspect it's the Eldrazi he wants to get off the table.
Well, is it? Does he care about the Eldrazi? I'm actually going to throw that out there. Does he need to get rid of the Eldrazi?
Feels like there's some risk.
Yeah, if Jeremiah swings, he just kills him with Tarmogoyf. Hard to say.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We don't, I mean, he'd be at the mercy of a top deck for sure.
It has to imagine, I had to imagine the last card in Jeremiah's hand cannot be more valuable than an Eldrazi.
Well, he discarded a Primeval Titan out of choice to a Liliana. So you have to assume one of 2 things. 1, Jeremiah has a second Titan. 2, Jeremiah does not have another green. And you see in his hand, he actually has a crop rotation. So there is, Jeremiah could crop rotate into another green source, but then he's going to lose his Titan. This is fascinating. So this is in response to the hymn. Jeremiah's going to, he's going to crop rotate away the chasm. And if that last card in James' hand is a Liliana, then he's going to be dead.
Yeah, now.
Well, unless he gets a Glimmer Post.
Yeah.
Which I guess is what he gets here, isn't it? I mean, he's got to stay alive. He's going to go ahead. I would actually think, he's going to get a Glimmer Post. That gains him 5.
Okay.
Not dead this turn. Both cards are gone. It is a repeal and the Primeval Titan, and second Liliana edicts away the Kozilek. And Jeremiah back down to top deck mode.
And he cast Primeval Titan.
No.
But he can cast Emrakul.
5 to, yep.
He can cast an Emrakul.
Sure can.
Although, and James is at 14. So
he can't top into the Emrakul. He just has to draw it.
No, it's a draw right now.
If he has a top, he could find something like Kozilek this turn. And that would work. If he finds Expedition Map, he could get Glacial Chasm. He could find a Moment's Peace. There are some live draws for Jeremiah. There's a lot of not live draws, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that kill him, but Emrakul here is just game. Jeremiah has the requisite 15 mana. This has been awesome. So back and forth.
Planeswalker was added to the bin there for James, so the Tarmogoyf was a 6/7. It puts Jeremiah down to 1. But, I mean, if Jeremiah gets another Locust, that's 6 more life, so that's another turn.
Here we go.
All right, does he get an out? It's Divining Chop.
Oh, boy.
Okay, all right. Spin it. I think, oh boy. And does he find anything? No, I don't think he does. It's a land, a candelabra, and a primeval titan that he
Wow.
cannot cast. So close. But James Rynkiewicz, 2-1, moves on to the finals.
That was a great match. Nothing else to say about it. And James played exceptionally well.
Yeah, really a veteran with that deck. I'm a